Welcome to the Animal Training Academy podcast show. I'm your host, Ryan Cartlidge, and I'm passionate about helping you master your animal training skills using the most positive and least intrusive approaches. Here at ATA, we understand that navigating the vast challenges you encounter in training requires a comprehensive base of knowledge and experience. It's common to face obstacles and rough patches on your journey that can leave you feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Therefore, since 2015, we've been on a mission to empower animal training geeks worldwide. We've aided thousands in developing their skills, expanding their knowledge, boosting their confidence, and maximizing their positive impact on all the animal and human learners they work with. We are excited to do the same for you. Simply visit www.atamember.com, join our vibrant community, and geek out with us. And of course, in the meantime, enjoy this free podcast episode as we explore new ways to help you supercharge your training skills, grow your knowledge, and build your confidence, so that you can craft a life that positively impacts every learner you encounter.
But we will start today's episode where I'm excited to chat with one Natalie Light, or Nat for short, a true leader in the animal behaviour world. She's been working professionally in the sector since 2006 and currently serves as a director of the Professional Association of Canine Trainers, otherwise known as PACT, helping to shape standards across our industry. Nat is an ASAB accredited certified clinical animal behaviourist with a distinction in applied animal behaviour and welfare from Newcastle University. She is also a member of the ABPC, and I'm going to have to get her to tell us what those acronyms mean shortly, and the Fellowship of Animal Behaviour Clinicians. Her approach is built on deep expertise, observing, analysing, and interpreting behaviour to give owners practical skills. She works strictly within a code of conduct that rejects fear and pain, focusing instead on achievable goals that ensure a safe, happy life for dogs and their owners. So without further ado, it's my very great pleasure to welcome Nat to the show today, who's patiently waiting by on the other side of the world. Nat, thanks so much for taking the time to come and geek out with us at Animal Training Academy.
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Nat, let's link you to the previous episode on our show lineup where we hosted none other than your partner in crime, your forever after, your husband, Jason Light, whom, for the benefit of all of us, you help co-direct the wonderful PACT, aka the Professional Association of Canine Trainers. And for you, the listener, just in case you haven't listened to that one, we are currently doing a special 4-part series, which at various parts will involve all 4 of PACT's directors, culminating in an ATA podcast show first, where we're going to have 4 guests on at the same time, all 4 PACT directors, which is either an amazing idea from me or a very silly one. We will find out. But to kick things off today, Nat, before we dive into your personal story, can you share with the listeners of the show about what PACT, the Professional Association of Canine Trainers, is?
Let me start with what PACT is for me personally. So PACT is an opportunity for me to work from home a lot. So I get to be around my dogs and other animals and work with my husband and my 2 best friends. It's been life-changing, and it is something that I pinch myself about every day that I get the opportunity to do it, because we are all very passionate about different elements of the same goal, and that is for during our lifetimes to make a difference to humans and non-humans. So I think that yes, we are training dog trainers, and I don't want to make it sound like we're, really changing the world and be too philosophical, but every business, everything you do on a daily basis is like, it can change the world, and it can change somebody else's world. And that's what we aim to do. So short answer is PACT provides good quality education to people that want to learn more about dog welfare and become an accredited trainer, or work with more sort of complex cases as a canine behaviour technician. And so we're an education provider and an assessing organisation. And we also have this wonderful community of people with two married couples at the core, which I'm sure when we all come on, you'll see kind of works somehow, but we do all talk over each other, and, it's great. It's like a family.
Does that mean like you are like your husband's boss and your husband's like your boss?
Yeah, I suppose so. We have like areas that we've all naturally kind of fallen into. And I think Jay is definitely the boss of certain areas. I don't feel like I'm his boss, to be honest.
Jay's going to cut that part. It's just going to say Jay is certainly the boss, and he's just going to cut that soundbite.
That's it. Done. He's more of a grown-up than me. So he loves all the process. He loves a meeting. I could never go to another meeting again and be very, very happy with myself and my life. So there are areas that we kind of lead on, but yeah, it's a weird word, isn't it, boss? Because I've obviously had jobs. Yeah, PACT leader. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Much more comfortable with that term, definitely. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's hard. It's I'm kind of drawn to project work and like being in control of my own destiny and like time frames and stuff, and that makes sense for me a lot more. I think Jay likes the sort of rigidity. He lasted in like 9 to 5 sort of normal, in inverted commas, jobs a lot longer than I did. So he's we do sometimes laugh and say that we could just say, all right, Dad, when he's putting his foot down about something, or like trying to stop us from going off on a tangent and talking about, I don't know, what colour treat bag we should order for 3 hours, when actually there's more things
branding
that we need to talk about. It is very important, So yeah, I haven't thought about us being each other's bosses too much before. I must have just avoided that, because no, but it's true.
I saw a perfect cup. I saw a perfect mug for Jay yesterday. If you listen to the previous episodes, you the listener, you would hear that Jay really loves his spreadsheets, and it said the mug was shared by our ATA member Gabby Boychen from Sweden. So thanks for sharing us. I'd like to buy it for Jay. It said freaking the sheets. And
amazing!
They had the Excel spreadsheets like covering the mug. I was like, that reminds me of Jay. So what are you the boss of in PACT?
What am I have no idea.
Animal training.
No idea. Yeah. I love I'm a bit of a sort of badge collector. Like I've got serious chronic good girl syndrome. Like I have to follow the rules. I have to prove myself through badges and, other people telling me that I did a good job. So I really like, I don't know whether I'm like the lead of it, but I really like all the like recognition, the course writing, the accreditation
the
stuff.
The PACT leader, you mean?
Again, we're back to that.
No, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard anyone really say that before. I have to, and there's a level of appreciate your honesty and vulnerability in there to say that you are a chronic good girl.
Mm,
You and you're talking about badges. You're talking about accreditations.
yeah, like in order to be able to talk about something with a level of confidence and for people to want to listen or feel, or me to feel justified that I can sort of talk about something and give good advice, I feel that I have to be kind of externally validated. Like that's just me personally. So
Does that stem from a place of imposter syndrome? I'm asking that because I have like love-hate relationship with that word or that term. But I also know that for our audience and for our listeners, it is a huge challenge about them. It's like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Natalie, like flying into the Death Star to blow it up. He's like, he's got to solve the problem of good versus evil, which we're all doing, not to dramatize things, but like our ethics and stuff. But he's also wondering if he's good enough to be a Jedi,
yeah.
why he's flying in a spaceship. So I think it's a imposter syndrome, like it's something that we all face. But is that what it is? Is that what it was for you? Is that what it is for
Um,
you?
yeah, and I like the analogy, and I think imposter syndrome, the term, and like the kind of lived experience that we all seem to have at one point or another during our lives or careers, I'm really interested in, and I haven't quite figured it out how I feel about it. I I I would like to reframe it to not be as negative. Obviously, it can be negative on our emotional welfare, but I think that if you fundamentally, if you're concerned about whether you're doing a good enough job, then I think that's a good quality to have. I think that's a good thing to be questioning, because that is what drives better practice and want, and like that curiosity and thinking about ethics and developing yourself. I think someone that never takes a step back and goes, did I do okay there? I would worry about more. So I think there's like a fine line between confidence and being able to, it not being so crippling that you can't even set up a website because who would want to come to you, and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a bit of a wave to be ridden where you can use a bit of self-doubt to push yourself forward. But I'm not saying I've got that balance right at all. But the way that I maybe try and always have tried to combat that kind of not feeling good enough is to go and learn and get a qualification in it, because then I've got that to fall back on if someone is questioning me, or all those normal things of, well, why would I listen to her, or what does she know about dogs? And I don't just do that in PACT life and with my career in animal welfare. I do it in all sorts of things. I guess it's just like I just have an inquisitive mind, and it goes alongside a bit of wanting to learn the right things from the right people. So yeah, I do it in different areas as well, like gardening and wildlife and all sorts. If I'm keen about something, then I want to find out more, and I want to make sure that what I'm learning or who I'm learning from is legit, which I guess is why, we were talking off air about sort of AI and stuff. That's what worries me about fake news the most, because now I'm like, I have to do even more fact checking. I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm just babbling.
I want to preface my next question with saying that you are good enough. I 100% feel that in my core and my bones. My question is, does getting the certifications for you make you feel good enough?
Sometimes it's, yeah, yes is the short answer. What I struggle with is then maybe using them in a way that puts me in that kind of place of expertise. That's the bit that I'm maybe uncomfortable with, and I'm trying to work on. And I find it easier to do in PACT, for example, because if I'm in a meeting or I'm speaking with people, I'm there as the representative of an organisation who are hundreds of voices of people that I really care about, and I want to improve the sector for them. So, when I have my retirement due, I can look around and smile and be like, yeah, okay, this is good. We're in safe hands. So I find that easier than being Nat. So I think that's why I have a bit of alphabet soup after my name, because of that, like looking for the learning, but also a sense of belonging and like validation from accreditation. And sometimes that comes, sometimes it doesn't. I think it depends on what you find when you get there and how well it's received by the people that are around you. That's what I love about our community and the other communities that we meet along the way, is that kind of supportive mentality is something that can really make a huge difference. And it's kind of like a way of living, not just the way that you have relationships with people that you share a common interest with. It sort of creeps into every area of your life, which is why I think we have like the environmental streams within PACT and the well-being streams within PACT, and I don't think that you can be an observer of non-human animals without also being really sort of in tune with human body language and maybe noticing things that aren't always the most obvious. So yeah, I think there's loads involved in it for me personally. Sorry, I feel like I'm going into counselling depths here. I hope I'm not being too boring
I
full
have
on.
a tendency of doing that to people on this show. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, we know that context is so important and antecedents are so important. And you've just given a really good example of how a different context can generate different behaviours in you. I'm going to assume so. We've been talking about how you've been feeling in those different contexts, but I'm going to assume that those feelings lead to different behaviours.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I don't have any questions yet. I just want to highlight that specific part of what you said. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts now that I've kind of circled back to that specific part. Just found it really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, I'm not like searching for this soapbox to be a sort of leader of anything, or I don't have that kind of yearning to be anything in terms of like ego or anything like that. But I feel very different and much more comfortable around people that would be in like our communities, where it's very easy to kind of share knowledge and have open conversations and explore how you might feel about certain things without too much judgment. And I would feel very differently, on a panel with people that are from maybe academia, or they have a political background and they're used to standing up for their themselves and their point a lot. I find that quite difficult, I think, sometimes. I know what I want to stand up for, but I find it I find that kind of conflict of debate quite tricky to navigate, and I often come away from it feeling that I haven't either stood up for myself enough or not in the right way, or that I haven't done a good service. So that's why I kind of throw myself into doing what I can on the ground with people that I can kind of help out with in some way, and kind of maybe shying away from the bigger battles that sometimes we feel like we should be drawn into in our sector. I find that really tricky.
So are you talking about conversations about ethics in dog training or about other areas?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the whole, trying to be proactive, the more like, I kind of want to call it activism. I don't.
It is.
Means different things to different people, but that kind of proactive, put yourself out there, stand up for what you believe in. I find that quite difficult. It hasn't worked out for me in the past. And the kind of people that you end up attracting trouble from, I find it very difficult to deal with the fallout. I'm not very sort of tough in that respect. I find it hard to just forget about it or shut the laptop and be done. So I don't find that enjoyable. And then there's that like cycle of, but you should be out there, you care about this stuff, you should be standing up for it. But I can't, because then I break, and then I can't do anything, and then it just goes on.
It's wise. I think the word, I've always thought the word should is like a dangerous one, because I heard someone give a definition, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'll give it a go, of what frustration is and what gratitude is. Frustration being unmet expectations, and gratitude being appreciative of expectations having been met. And I think the word I'm always like really scared of the word should, because of the expectations that it places on you, and the possibility for frustrations to therefore arise if those expectations aren't met. But I think you're talking in a way that a lot of listeners of the show feel, because we have this information and we care so much, right?
Yeah. And it's hard. And honestly, like, the best thing that I've done is to try and get rid of the should. And I think it can be very easy to feel like by not being in that social media group, or not replying to someone with a different recommendation, that you're failing your passion and what you care about. But actually leaving all of those groups and having a lot less time on social media has just been like massively positive from me. And I really worry about younger trainers that I see that are, often really emotional, in tears. They feel the pull of the should, and it's hard to try and explain. I think everyone has to go on their own journey with it, but and being kind to yourself is often the hardest lesson to learn, and one of the last lessons to learn when you're in a sector, working in a role where fundamentally you are giving care to everybody but yourself in a situation often, especially when you think about people working in rescue, long hours. If I don't do it, no one will, so I have to do it, and all that pressure. And I think I think they're the kind of roles that can really erode your self-worth, maybe. And I wonder whether that's where some of the imposter syndrome comes from. Because if you're not the kind of person like me that is going to stand up and say, do you know what expertise I've got, actually? Do you know what I have witnessed with dogs? Do you know what I have worked through and seen? Then you end up in this kind of limbo where you don't feel like you're making a difference, but you really are. You really are. And the best thing to do is to focus your efforts in areas that you can make a difference, rather than worrying about, silly keyboard warrior fights and shoulds.
So many thoughts come up for me, but first I just want to say I didn't mean to call you out and saying that word should. As I was saying it, I was like,
oh, no.
She just did it and I'm calling her out. Like I was aware. So it's grateful that you didn't take it that way, but just wanted to put that out there that if it came across you, the listener, or to you, I totally didn't mean to do that. Have you heard of Plato's Cave before?
No. And now I feel ignorant because I haven't, but I want to tell me more.
You should know about this.
I should know about it.
Well, as I'm building my skill up and doing, when I say something like that and I'm like, will I have the words to articulate this properly? I'm leaning on AI now. So I've just quickly asked ChatGPT to explain Plato's cave. So here it is. Plato's allegory, I don't even know what that word means, of the cave is a story from the Republic, Book 7, that explains how humans understand reality, knowledge, and truth. The setup: imagine people who have lived their entire lives chained inside a cave. They face a blank wall and cannot turn their heads. Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners are objects being carried past. The prisoners only see shadows of these objects projected onto the wall. Since this is all they've ever known, they believe the shadows are reality. The escape: one prisoner is freed and forced to turn around. At first, the firelight hurts their eyes and the objects look confusing and less real than the shadows. They are then dragged outside the cave into the sunlight. The sunlight is painful at first, but eventually they see the real world clearly. They realize the shadows were only imperfect representations of reality. The return: the freed prisoner goes back into the cave to tell the others. Their eyes, now used to sunlight, struggle to see in the dark. The other prisoners mock them, don't believe them, and may even become hostile. They prefer the familiar shadows over an unsettling new truth. What it means: Plato uses the cave as a metaphor for ignorance versus knowledge. The cave represents ignorance. The outside world represents true understanding. Education: learning isn't about fulfilling minds with facts, but turning the soul towards truth. The senses versus reason: what we see and hear isn't always reality. Reason and philosophy reveal deeper truths. Social resistance to truth: people often resist ideas that challenge their worldview. In simple terms, we often mistake appearances, habits, or cultural beliefs for reality. Gaining real understanding can be uncomfortable, and sharing it can be even harder. So that's like,
I love that.
Yeah, I feel like for young trainers, like they I've been here myself, and whether it's in animal training or lots of different areas of life, when something really ignites you, and you said before, it's like a way of living. Like, it's not just about animal training or dog training. Like you have this desire to tell everyone and share everyone and help others see what you see, but they don't necessarily want to, and you get mocked and it beats you down pretty quickly, and it makes you question whether and how you become vulnerable and keep sharing that if you're going to be mocked. That's what I feel like. Plato's Cave always comes to mind when I think about people, enthusiastic, emotional, caring people first coming in contact with the values-based animal training community and information that we share. What is that?
Yeah.
Why do you love that? Like, what about that did you love?
I love that because my brain tends to work quite well with like analogies or like I can take the emotion out of how I'm feeling if I can work through like a philosophical, symbolic type story like that, allegory. And I find that really fascinating because I think you can find out stuff about yourself that you maybe didn't really know, because it's like that. Let's hope that is not a situation any of us find ourselves in, by the way, in a cave, on a different planet. Or maybe the different planets sometimes, I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's hard not to want to stay in your bubble and, go and have a lovely life in the real world and leave the people in the cave to it. When you do face, ridicule, when you've tried to explain things or stand up for things. And I guess where my brain goes is, okay, so what's the best outcome there in Plato's cave? What's the best outcome for everybody so that everybody gets to be happy and secure and be free and, skip towards the sunset? And the trouble is there isn't one. So that's, that's where I get stuck. So I think, again, it's that balance, isn't it? It's like, what can I actually affect, and what people can I bring along with me on that journey, and how do I keep trying with those people that might want to join me outside of the cave? I've got this, I really love this. I don't know if you've seen this. Hang on. It's not going to be very good for the listeners, I'm afraid, but it's how to change the world. So this good. Is like a little cartoon. My dog's trod on it, so excuse the paw prints. But it basically has one person on their own, and the crowd is like shouting, and there's a little like toxic symbol, and then the person on their own says something, but it's just a little love sort of emoji. And then there's one person in the crowd here that's got a confused face that goes, oh, okay, and then they gradually join, and then the people that end up in the sort of love group are still receptive to anybody. Like, they'll still give people a chance. I really like that. It's probably very hippy dippy and like not realistic, but I'm okay with that. I would rather live in that world than a violent one. So
it reminds me of that saying, when new ideas come in, like there's like a predictable sequence of events that happen. One of them's like rejection of the idea and mocking and ridicule before it's finally accepted.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's part of where we're at in our global industry culture around agency and choice that we bestow upon non-human learners in situations where we're managing them. I don't know, but I'm always just so curious. Like, what stage are we living in? Like, are we just living in this stage where we are saying love, but we just still at the stage where there's an angry crowd yelling toxicity, with gradually one person understanding or seeing the sunlight outside of the cave and jumping out, or if it's just going to always be this way, that we just feel potentially like there's a fight to be had.
Yeah, I choose not to live like that. And I understand I'm in a very privileged position where I live and, everything. I'm a very privileged person, and there are people in a lot more difficult situations than me. But I also think that you can't sort of judge your potential for influencing change and understanding by, the severity of the risk of the outcome or non-outcome. And I think in that little example, I would like to try to emulate a person, maybe not shouting back love at the toxic group, but getting on quietly with my own thing that creates that love that still people might get curious about. So maybe in like Plato's cave, I would like to think of myself as someone that might bring exciting things back into the cave on a daily basis, and in the hope that one of those things might spark some curiosity and allow them to embrace reality a bit more. But meanwhile, I'll be having a nice time, hopefully, with some other people outside of the cave. Because I think you've got to, I don't want to get too hung up on like the big message, because meanwhile, there's dogs that need our help. There's people that need our help. There's students that need our help. We might need help. And so it's kind of having all that together, like not forgetting the bigger message, but being there on the ground to help people and support people through what I hope are, common worries. I'm hoping that there are some people out there thinking, oh, yeah, I know what she means, rather than, oh, my goodness, what is Nat going on about? Yeah, I think it's a lot. There's a lot to deal with. And no wonder we are crashing and burning and turning to non-human animals in our line of work and, enjoying their company a lot more, because there's a lot to navigate. And yeah, that's what I love about PACT, is it's a safe bubble for the days where you just want to be in a community where you can be surrounded by, the love speech. But also it's a collective where we can maybe have a bit more of a voice and take up space in an area where we might be able to dilute some of the toxic stuff as well. On days when you feel more like a sort of superhero and that you can go out and do more activism stuff. So I think it's just being honest with yourself about what you can take on and when, because otherwise, therein madness lies if you are trying to win everyone over, because that's hard. That's going to lead to burnout.
So would we say that the prisoners in the cave have compromised welfare?
Right. This is where we get even deeper in philosophy, because if these prisoners are humans, then there's all sorts of things. They might have the power of language to have conversations with their captors. Are they being held captive, or are they just chained up for I don't know what reason? Have they chosen to do it as some kind of weird experiment? Who knows? Didn't say, AI didn't tell us. Ultimately, I think the prisoner that can leave and decides to come back, there's some element of choice there. I think that's like, it's a really interesting way of thinking about it, because then I go into all the variables, and this is the biggest thing with non-human animal welfare, is that they can't leave. They don't have agency to go and set up their life where they want, often where they would want to live the way they would want to. We have so much control, whether we want to or not, over where they can move to, when they eat, where they can go on a walk, whether they can move freely. And that's within ethical spheres. There is always an element of control, whether you're doing it on purpose or not. And I love analogies, as I said, and I love these kind of brain tingly situations, but it's too problematic for me to then put a non-human animal in the same situation. So when you see comparisons about, aversive tools and people trying them on and saying that it doesn't hurt or whatever, that it's not a fair comparison at all. They're just so far removed from me, because the fact is that you put it on for a start. So I feel like I've got more questions than answers.
And I think what you've just done there is model beautifully for our listeners a really powerful way to live. And I think I failed at trying to lead to where I was trying to get to, because all of the questions that you asked. But my I'm going to ask the next question because I think it still works, but let's try it out and see what happens. If you wanted to change the behavior of the humans in the cave as a dog trainer,
Yeah.
how would you do that? And if we saw behaviors that we might label as verbally aggressive, mocking you, ridiculing you, what can we take from that in regards to what we understand about the fallout from using aversives?
Just a tiny question then.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of throws the cave thing out the window, but my first approach to any kind of behavior change in dog training is like the right to choose, freedom. So actually, the change would have to come off. They've got to want to be there to start with. And I guess I also would be thinking about their emotional experience and are they staying in the cave because they know that's all they know, and the fear of the unknown is scarier than however scary a cave could be, because that's where they've been for most of their life. Doesn't mean they couldn't have a better quality of life outside of it. And that would be part of, I would see that as my like facilitative role. If I was to change their behavior and I wanted to improve their confidence at being able to explore new areas, I would want to be a good guide to do that. If they could verbalize with me how they were feeling, then I guess I would just be asking questions if they were mocking or being frustrated or being angry, and trying to get to the bottom of why they feel they need to react that way. And I think that's probably where a lot of my concerns come with the kind of conflict debate type environments. I don't feel comfortable in those environments because I don't feel that I'm going to be respected, I guess is maybe not the right word, but I am aware that I sound that quite idealistic, and I wear pigtails, and I love nature, and I value all of those things. I value lots of things that are very important, I think. And I don't think I maybe am respected by some people that might value things that are different. So ultimately, how do you then get around that? So if one of the prisoners was being dismissive and abusive to me because they didn't believe me about what was going on outside, because the emotions they were feeling were about not being the expert and not being able to kind of step down and listen to a woman in pigtails, where do I go with that?
Well, if they were a dog, what would you do? And I'm asking this for a couple of reasons. I think I jumped in there to say that because I think it's important to preface this for both the questions I'm asking and how that makes you feel, and for the listener as well. And a couple of things. If someone doesn't respect you, doesn't really matter what you say. I don't think like that's going to be filtered through that this person's incompetent or this person's out to get me or whatever reason they don't respect you or don't trust what you're saying. And then you said, I love your answer. You'd be asking lots of questions. Is that what you would be doing if they were a dog? I'm just curious, like what we're doing in my view is we're looking for behavior change, right? We're wanting humans to change their behavior, and we're really good at this, but also we're not being paid to do this a lot of the time, to change other people's behavior. They might not respect us. We might be really good at it. We might know how to do it, but to do it in following a systematic program for the individual human learner in front of us would require a set amount of resources and time. And is that the best use of our time when we could be just bringing nice things into the cave and if anyone gets curious, cool.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? What's the best use of the time and energy that I have to enact the biggest amount of change? That's how I try and live my life.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
That's kind of how I approach dog training as well, I'll be completely honest, because I love training. But what I love more is the feeling of being trusted that I see you by another living being. So I think what we lose in social media. So if these cave dwellers were dogs, I mean, I play the long game because I'm working with dogs that are quite traumatized and might, want to bite my arm off. So I'm not doing sort of quick necessarily, quick in their lifetime in terms of a timeline, but not quick as in, the magic of TV, and which doesn't exist. So if I was looking at potential triggers and asking questions, then I also need to be fluent in body language and to be able to pick up on very low level signals that whatever is being heard by that person, because that doesn't always match what I'm saying, what's being heard by that person might not be going down that well, so that I can stop, reevaluate, change tact, ask them if they're okay. And we can't do that on social media, because all you get, like, social media responses and like comment sections are like, the dog equivalent of that is a dog that has lost the ability to give any warning signals whatsoever. And the second that they feel uncomfortable, they will bite and bite hard and bite seriously, because we can't see each other to kind of soften things. And that's what I'm looking at with dogs, definitely. That's why I love just watching. And there's a lot that I'll observe that I might not understand. And I'll say that. I don't know why they're doing that. That's strange. But I want to find out. That's that sort of curiosity. And I may or I may not. But I want to make sure that whoever I'm observing knows that I'm safe with it, and that I will notice and I will take appropriate action, whether that's going away or staying still or offering something that they might like. Works for all species, but it's almost harder with humans, because lots of humans have learnt to lean so heavily into verbal communication that everything else is kind of forgotten. That's why I love non-human animals and observing them, because you can almost just forget words, and there's a lot more to find out. It's easier to be curious when you're not being given the step-by-step recipe by someone's verbal communication, their attempt at trying to tell you what's going on. When you got to find the story for yourself with body language, that's what I'm really into and really passionate about, and what I would be doing, with dogs. So a lot of my dog training starts with watching to see what's going on, and seeing what works. Not from a point of view that, I'm poking the bee's nest and trying to get a reaction, but just a very quiet conversation about what they might like and what they might not. I'm babbling again, aren't I? Sorry, you give me a few words and I'm off.
It's called passion talking, and it's the goal. And I always joke that the best and I'm probably exaggerating on the story, but definition of passion talking in this show is me asking this Australian trainer, Peter Clark, love you, Peter Clark, uh, where people can go to find her online. And 45 minutes later, she's like, what was the question again?
Love that. Oh,
That's and passion talking is a term that I stole from. I'll give it back, I promise, Teresa. I stole from Teresa McEwen from Tag Teach, but we're all about passion talking. So you're all good. I always question myself, Natalie, when I'm like, oh shit, we've been going for 50 minutes. And see, I was the first one to swear on this episode, not you. And
I did ask, didn't I? I wasn't sure.
and I'm like, what have we talked about? Plato's Cave. Like, did people tune in to listen to a dog training podcast? So, if you're still listening, I appreciate you indulging us and
Yeah,
following.
me too.
The thousands of downloads we get every month would suggest that we're doing a pretty good job. But also, like, I'm really glad that I've asked the questions that I have today, because you've modeled really beautifully for our audience some things. And those things are curiosity, more questions than answers. And I think that in my mind, when I've been asking these questions today, I've been thinking about those young trainers who are like the prisoner who's left Plato's cave for the first time and feel like they want to be out there changing the world and telling everyone, what they've just seen, and feel the brunt of that mocking, and that disinterest, and that lack of respect, when they get. So these questions have been indirectly trying to address that segment of our audience. And I think if you're listening to this podcast and you've been doing this for longer, then it might be making you reflect on part of your journey when you first started training animals. And amazing that you're still here, because that can be really unmotivating to people to stick in this industry for long periods of time. But one specific thing, curiosity. I think you've modeled that so beautifully for our audience today, and it is one of the core values of Animal Training Academy is getting curious, and one that I think I've personally got a lot of growth to do in, and context is really important, and I find myself better able to practice behaviours that I would label as curious in some contexts over others, especially when I'm stressed and tired. I find that I still have a bit of work to do there, to generalize that behavior into that specific context. And running a business and having two young kids, I'm always stressed. I'm not always stressed, actually. I don't get super stressed, but I'm always tired. Quite often sick because bugs my kids bring home. But for you, Natalie, what does being curious look like, and how do you practice and develop curiosity?
Oh, good question. I think that, dictionary definition stuff, curiosity is about a sort of personal quest for knowledge. So wanting to find out more about something. It could be more like an engineer's mind where, they see some kind of mechanism and they want to take it apart and find how that works exactly. For me, my curiosity is mainly about kind of the natural world and how different species experience that world and how they communicate with conspecifics. And that's always been the fascination for me. I think the kind of the USP of curiosity versus simply acquiring knowledge and facts is that curiosity allows us to be a bit more vulnerable and not search for validation of existing thoughts or existing viewpoints or existing ethics even. And curiosity can lead you to different kind of spheres that maybe might be outside of your comfort zone sometimes. I think I can be a curious learner without, compromising my ethics. So I have very strong ethics personally that I do not want, as far as I possibly can, my existence on this planet to be directly detrimental to misery, suffering of another individual on this planet. A lot of that stuff I have no control of. Just being here, just being alive, I'm causing some kind of suffering, buying the food I buy, ordering stuff off Amazon when I should be shopping local. There's the should again. All those things of just, being alive today, you kind of have to go, okay, well, they're a given, but I'm just not going to indulge certain viewpoints about the treatment of other sentient beings. But I could be curious about it. I can think, well, what makes someone want to, or what makes someone simply pick up that particular tool, aversive tool for training? What makes someone get a dog if they're at work 9 to 5? What makes them feel that there might not have been other options? And so I think curiosity is maybe another way of saying kind of open-minded, and open to other people's curiosity. Because if you're looking for reasons why someone might behave in a certain way, or you're genuinely trying to understand more so that you can sort of come up with a solution or a way of interacting that doesn't involve conflict, then that kind of opens the door for them to be curious back. And I'm sure we can all think of examples, particularly with dogs, where you've had a really lovely interaction with maybe a shy dog, a shut down dog, and because of the way that you've approached it and the way you've been so mindful of your body language, and you haven't demanded anything of that being in the moment, you're being curious about the way they're moving and what might be scary for them, then they're able to be curious back and maybe come and give you a sniff or a little step towards. So I think that's where true behaviour change lies, is in showing that you're curious and being open to inviting curiosity back. So asking questions and hoping that you get that in return. Does that answer the question?
I don't know if there's a correct answer to
Is
the
there
question
an answer?
or not.
I don't know.
I'm going to say yes, because you said curiosity allows us to be a bit more vulnerable without the need for validation. And I think that's a beautiful idea to end this episode on. Now we are, as I said at the start, releasing this episode as one of 4 episodes we're going to be doing, where we're lucky enough to hang out with the directors of the Professional Association of Canine Trainers, otherwise known as PACT, who are having a huge impact on the world and shaping standards across our industry. Can you share with the listeners where they can go online to find out more about PACT and you as well and the work you do?
Yeah, we would love to see you online. So probably best first step is our website, which is PACT, PACT Dogs Dogs.com. On the homepage, if you scroll down a bit, there are some freebies there. So there's some links to couple of courses for free. And then you can go through to our, along the top, there's Learn With Us and webinars, all that kind of stuff. We've all got a little profile on there if you want to find out more about us individually. And yeah, if you like the kind of stuff that I have been talking about, then there's loads of amazing behaviourists over in the UK here that are kind of championing the same stuff. So a good place to start if you like a book is, I was lucky enough to collaborate on a book and wrote a chapter in Canine Behaviour in Mind, which is with some fantastic other animal behaviourists over here. So have a look for that. And I'm sure Steve will give a massive plug for our podcast, Barks and Bookshelf, where I don't talk as deeply on that. I talk mostly about me falling over in the garden and silly things that I've done. But I've really enjoyed being a bit more philosophical tonight. I hope I've vaguely made sense. And I hope that my biggest hope for students and people that are starting out in the industry is that to like myth bust and just say, you know, we're all just trying to do our best for something we feel passionately about. So you know, don't follow blindly, ask questions, and find people that you align with, and that your sort of ethics and your mind aligns with. And that doesn't have to be everyone, but if you are more comfortable with knowing what you are searching for, it's easier to know when you found it, if you know what I mean. And I guess that's what we're trying to create in PACT is that and why collaboration is so important, which is why, you know, having chats with you, Ryan, and, you know, having an opportunity for some of your members to listen to me wang on about caves, I hope will be of interest. And you know, you get a flavour. I hope we come across as authentic people. You know, you can only really be yourself authentically, and so that's who we're striving to be, and to try and, you know, lift people up to be their authentic selves as well, and feel comfortable in that, and stand up for what they believe in, and follow the path they want to follow without feeling that they kind of might not be good enough, because we all are. And there will be ways to feel better about that along the way. Mine is badge collecting. You might find different ways of doing that as well.
Wonderful. I love badge collecting. I think it's beautiful. I collect rubber ducks. I've only got 4, but one and they're all from England apart from one. I've got a Roman soldier from Bath, a Tower of London duck.
Jay got a Star Trek one for Christmas.
Oh, I want it. So we got a Christmas one for Christmas. We will link to all of this in the show notes as well. Nat, thanks so much for hanging out with me on the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking the time to do so.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for listening as well. This is your host, Ryan Cartlidge, signing off from this episode of the Animal Training Academy podcast show. We hope today's conversation inspired you and equipped you with new tools for your trainer's toolbox. Remember, every challenge in training is an opportunity to learn and sharpen your animal training geekery. Embrace the rough patches, learn from them, and keep improving. And don't forget, the path to growing your skills and expanding your knowledge continues beyond this episode. Visit www.atamember.com to join our supportive membership, where you will find a community of trainers just like you. Together, we're making a huge positive difference in the lives of animal and human learners worldwide. Until next time, keep honing your skills, stay awesome, and remember, every interaction with an animal or human learner is your opportunity to create ripples. We're here cheering you on every step of the way. See you at the next episode.